Cause the two fat guys and they review movies, Marvel and comics from DC. Everybody hates them, but they keep doing it anyhow. Hey, I'm wearing a Spider-Man shirt.
Hey, look at that.
Hey, topical. Alright, ready?
Yep.
Hey, we're two fat guys.
And we just watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
We're going to talk probably spoiler-free for a little while, and then we'll clearly announce when we're going to talk spoiler things.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's going to be too much post-spoilers that we need to talk about. There's only like a couple things that I would think would fall into that category.
I've given all the care and attention I normally give to preparing for this video, so I have no
Zero?
idea.
Nothing?
Yeah, I have
Perfect.
no idea whether or not that's accurate. So
Great. So
let's just wing it, and I'll try not to mention all the dead people.
I liked this movie.
I was entertained by this movie. I will start by saying that.
Yeah, well, certainly,
I
yes.
enjoyed this movie. Like it seems weird and petty, but I'm also a douchebag, so I'm gonna go ahead and say I
A
don't
film
want.
major is what
Yes,
you're-
I don't want to throw the word "like" on there, mostly because I know what a Spider-Man movie could be, and I've seen Spider-Man 2, which was
Close.
which was very close to a perfect Spider-Man movie. I tell you what, I have no problems with the visuals of this movie. It's a
Hell no.
gorgeous
Man,
film. That's
it
first.
looks great.
Steve actually texted me. He's like, "How was it?" The first thing I said was like, "It looks amazing."
Yeah. They spared no expense.
Yeah, the effects are great. It looks awesome. Costume was updated to be more like a Spider-Man costume, which was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All the Spider-Man costumes kind of look the same.
Oh, no,
for a while.
I didn't even think about how different the first one was until like I played the video game for the first movie, and they had the like classic Spider-Man costume. I was like, that's right, like all these features that one didn't have. Basically, it works down to like black webbing, so you can see the webbing, because before it was like very thin and silver, and you couldn't really see it on the old one. Also, it was a weird sort of like look at my junk thing instead of like a
as
chest
any
and
good
a belt.
superhero costume should be.
Well, I mean, a female one certainly, but
No,
hey,
it goes
ho,
both
ho.
ways.
Yeah, that's fair. That's how
No,
fair.
yeah. So I mean, this movie it suffers from a lot of the same problems that Spider-Man 3 did, but to a much lesser extent. I feel.
Not all of them, because the writing on a whole is not terrible. Like,
Right, but just
some of the writing, in addition to the structural issues, which is the major problem with Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think I'm about to say, it's just sort of structuring and pacing of some things.
For me, I would say pacing, and there's so much,
Yeah.
and not all of it is necessary.
So, yeah, it's structural issues is the largest issue, but, I mean, Spider-Man 3, if you go back and watch a video, just some of the dialogue is bad.
Yeah.
Just the plot isn't good at points.
If memory serves, I don't think that movie looked as good as 2, visually.
It didn't.
I was like, that could just be my memory being weird, but how I remember Spider-Man 2 looking is better than how I remember Spider-Man 3 looking.
Yes, that seems fair.
But
But we're not talking about either of those movies. We're talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which
Yes.
looked awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so don't worry about it looking good, because it does. It's polished and shiny. Honestly, like the first Amazing Spider-Man. Like, no one came out of the movie saying, damn, those effects sucked. Oh, man, I can't believe they ruined that perfect Spider-Man movie with terrible visuals.
Yeah.
Like, the visuals are great.
In fact, actually, I really liked, I almost forgot to mention, towards the beginning of this movie, we have a really fun sort of first-person-y web-slinging section.
That was a little much for me, just from a motion standpoint. I did like it. That was just personal, though. It's not like... It's a good filmmaking idea.
Well, I mean, I just think it looked cool. Like, just the fact that you're doing a Spider-Man movie and, like, let's see what that looks like. We're just, like, swinging through the city like that. And, it was just real close on him. I don't think it was quite first person, but it was close.
You saw, like, the top of his head. It's more like a video game where you, like, just see over your character's head.
Yeah, it was like he's just wearing... Spider-Man's wearing a GoPro. Like,
yeah.
But I thought it looked real good. I liked that they included that. It's, like the Doom first-person sequence. I like that they included it.
Let's not tie that to this, okay? Let's leave Doom out of this. Don't
Any
think
chance?
of Doom or Spider-Man 3 when thinking of this movie. So, let's just move on and talk about this movie. So, the visuals were awesome. The cast, by and large, did their jobs.
Yes.
Like, the problems I had were there were some dialogue issues and, like I said, structural issues. I never had problems saying, like, man, this person's delivery is miserable. Like, sometimes once again, pacing was bad, so things were too condensed or too stretched out. So the actors did what they could with it.
Yeah, I think the
Jamie
Foxx kind of got the short end of the stick on that one.
He did.
Where his dialogue at times was the closest to unbearable as far as not good dialogue.
It was on the nose. It had to be though because of the structural issues.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing against Jamie Foxx. I thought he did a hell of a job with what he was given.
I tell you what, that kid playing Harry though, he actually there are also structural issues with him. Not enough time I spent with this character, but he nailed it.
Yeah,
I had zero problems with him. Like I said, it's the only problems you can find with the character writing. I think he delivered everything the way he needed to, and I was really impressed with him. I'm a little sad we didn't get more time with him because like, man, he would have been a really solid Harry. Like he would have been able to play around if there weren't structural issues to deal with.
Yeah.
So,
so he was.
Well, we'll see what.
Yeah, he was good. But yeah, Jamie Foxx. Actually, we'll talk about villains and stuff. Let's talk about Spider-Man first.
Yes,
it's a Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield again doing a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
I think all around, especially when he's in Spider-Man mode.
Yeah, he
the
nails
quippy,
the quipping.
non-stop talking Spider-Man is real good.
Yeah, he nails all that stuff. If anyone has a problem with that, then you know what? Screw you. I don't care. Anyone has any problems with hey, Spider-Man, he's wise talking through these fights. I think they nailed it.
Yeah.
They get me
What's
exactly
weird
what
is I could see people having a problem with that, but it's not going to be people who are familiar with Spider-Man.
Yeah, anyone who's familiar. Okay, that's what I mean. Anyone who's familiar with Spider-Man, who's there are things for purists to complain about in this movie, but that shouldn't be one of them. If there is, then you were just going and saying, "I'm going to complain about everything." Which, you know what? Whatever. Then we can't help you. But yeah, Spider-Man's really good in that stuff. I think he played Peter Parker well. I still have the problem that I feel like he's not nerdy enough. Like you pointed out, well, nerds are kind of cool now. No, hipsters have taken some of nerd culture. But Peter Parker, they have him build that automatic door lock and stuff, and he's good in science class.
Yeah.
But they never really. He doesn't feel like an outsider enough. I mean, he's a fucking rock star. He jumps up on stage, he makes out with the valedictorian. Don't get me wrong. I love his interactions with Gwen, but I'm like, man. There's a reason that all the nerds that read comic books escaped so hard into this guy.
Yeah.
It's because he was the nerd and he got picked on and he was the loser, which the Tobey Maguire one sold a little better.
Yes.
Because Tobey Maguire seemed unassuming and nerdy and quiet and off kilter.
Yes.
I mean, he's doing very good for what he is. It's just they're pitching Spider-Man a little differently than I would want. Which I haven't read the Ultimate yet. I read some of the Ultimate stuff when I played the Ultimate game. I wonder how much of that is from that.
Yeah,
because in that one they spent a lot of time with him in high school. It's they wanted to make him young and accessible again. So I wonder if at that point in the modern time, if they sort of skewed it more towards he's kind of a hipster instead of a power nerd.
Yeah, well, regardless, I think the way that they're choosing to play him fits really well with Andrew Garfield.
Yes, it does. He can't. He's not
really kind of plays into his strengths.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Donald Glover.
I mean, yes, Donald Glover would be fantastic as Spider-Man, and we would all love it. But
as a power nerd.
Yeah. So Emma Stone, bringing it again as Gwen Stacy. I thought she did really good in the first movie. I thought she did really good here.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I've been a fan of her since Superbad, and she's doing solid. Also, I like that. I feel like they're giving even though this movie isn't the. I'm not saying it's a progressive feminism film or anything, but they try to give Gwen Stacy a little bit more than just being.
Yes, they give her own agency as opposed to.
Well, she has texture, whereas I feel like, and I've read all the comics, so feel free, Golden Age fans or Silver Age or whatever age fans, freak out on me, but I feel like Gwen in the comics, when I think of her, it's okay, well, it is the generic girl next door, and that's about as far as she goes in my brain. That's about as far as my picture of the comic book Gwen Stacy goes, whereas. I feel like this Gwen Stacy, even though her story is still really kind of a prop to move along.
Yes,
story,
it's tied.
Yeah, it's tied. It's not intrinsically to his. She doesn't really have her own thing in that way, but she's at least textured and has depth as a person beyond that, which is nice. And Emma is doing a great job with it, I think.
Sally Field.
Sally Field, yes, we want to mention her because.
Fantastic as Aunt May.
Yeah, I don't know if you could ask for a better Aunt May.
Especially growing up with the cartoon, to me, Aunt May was always really old. I never really thought about the ages of character especially when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. But just Aunt May is 60. That's just she's
How old is Sally Field? Do we know?
Yeah, no, but the gray-haired, like, can't do anything but knit. Like,
Yeah.
that is what the, like...
Yeah, more so than the
Aunt May
number
is.
because that.
Yeah, I guess
changes
more
with
like,
your-
80.
Yeah, but I get what you're
And-
saying. Like more like the Sam Raimi one. Like
Yeah.
she she needed help going to the bank and she would say like oh dear and had like a pocketbook and she would
Yeah,
search through
exactly. And, but Sally Field is you know,
a
not
younger
young,
Aunt May.
but younger
Yeah.
Aunt May.
You know they're really playing. She's going to school. She's going to nursing school.
That
in this.
she's trying to, like, make ends meet in
Uh-huh.
New York. Like,
Yeah,
it's
she's trying to put Peter through college and it's just and she does a great job of it.
yeah, she has one or two scenes that are just fantastic.
And everything she pitches just right. And
The kind of thing where, like, normally I'd be like, well, this is one of the things that they could cut out of this movie, but then I'll be like, except I don't think you should.
you can't
Not
cut out
for Sally
AMA
Field.
stuff. Like she hits it right. And plus, you need to see that because through it all, like his aunt and uncle are Peter's upbringing. Like
Yeah.
Uncle Ben dies, and that's the catalyst to not be a douchebag and actually help people. But Aunt May is like his last tie to that. That's the only parent he knows who's lived through that. Speaking of parents, the portrayal of the parents.
Yeah, they were very good.
Yeah, opens with a sequence of the parents. We won't go into too much detail in the non-spoiler section, but
yeah.
Can we say the guy who plays Peter Parker's dad is
He's a solid Peter Parker's dad. Like,
Yeah, I see
he's-
that guy,
There's your nerdy guy.
yeah, I see him and go, yep, that is Peter Parker's dad. He looks like, unassuming, he looks like a guy who would go to like an engineering firm every day or, is a high school biology
Or
teacher.
work at Oscorp.
I don't know about that. No, nerds at Oscorp. That'll be the day. But
Just hipsters here.
his delivery is great. Him and his wife is also good.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Like he's
I
just
noticed-
so perfect
I
that his
noticed-
wife's kind of overshadowed.
Well,
but
and that, and it was towards the end of that sequence. It was more focused on him, so there was he got a little bit more to do. But yeah, just them as characters. Even though I don't really care much about them as characters, like even like going into it, I was like, I don't care about Spider-Man's parents. Like, just tell me about Spider-Man now. But they were very good.
yes.
And I enjoyed what they did. I think it was probably the first thing that you could cut out of it, personally. But
not the opening. They revisit it and
yeah, just a lot of their arc in there.
yeah.
To me, is one of the things that could be cut, and not because it wasn't good, just because there's too much.
And well, here's the thing. I was thinking about this today. I think it'd be better if, because I'm not going to say what it is, but they pretty much wrap up the mystery around his parents in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this movie, I feel like Peter doesn't have any more questions about his parents, and we as an audience don't have any more questions. First off, I think that's a mistake. I think having the mystery of his parents is a great like extra motivating factor. It's also an extra plot point that you can use to derive future movies. Because honestly, it wasn't even a huge plot point for this. Like it was in this movie, and Peter was researching
except, like
it.
it's him staring at his. The mystery about it is what was actually, I felt, dragging it down. Like him staring at his case, and like I'm pretty sure the exact same sequence was in the first movie of like, what is this case? Well, there's all these things.
Okay, so I'm not saying you should keep the mystery that way. I'm saying like they shouldn't have told us. Like they should have. I think they should have had the opening
so that they could revisit it at some other time.
Yeah, and maybe have it come up once or twice when he's like in Oscorp dealing with Oscorp or something. Like maybe he finds some file or something, but not actually have time to dig into it because he has other stuff to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then every movie, we as an audience and Peter as a person find out a little more about the mystery around his parents, and that way it could sort of just leak out slowly over time, as opposed to like, well, we need to get this plot in here. So I definitely think that could have been something that I could cut here. The romance stuff with Peter and Gwen is good. It's naturalistic.
Which I liked, but you less so.
Here's what it is. When I thought about it, it was the length that bothered me because they have a couple sequences of them essentially just on some different dates or having some different relationshipy conversations, and they tend to go on for, I feel it is too long a film time. Like I feel like you will hit just the length of these scenes. Like we know what we need to, and we see all the interaction we need to get the emotion, and then it keeps going and not showing us any new information or getting us to feel anything new about these characters. And it made one a little too long. And at that point, the naturalistic dialogue started to wear on me when I was like, I don't care to hear college freshmen talk about how they want to do each other. Like I get it. You two like each other. Like I'm aware of that.
What?
So it kind of wore on too long. So I think shortening that. And first off, this is a long ass movie. So there was tons of time to work with. So if you cut out the parents, you shorten some of the scenes with the romance. Maybe you cut some sequences or rework it because
That's probably going to be a real good fan edit of this movie.
Yeah, all the individual little bits were pretty good. Of the romance, just I think you could have done less of them or reformatted them. And that would have freed up time to then expand stuff with Electro and Harry. Yeah. Which I think should have gotten some more time to breathe.
So Electro.
Yes.
Jamie Foxx, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The
before Electro stuff, he doesn't really have a lot of time to breathe in it. They have to go through it quickly, but he does what he can.
Yeah.
He's very entertaining. You could tell that he was really excited about this. Like, I feel like it came through that, like, he was happy to be doing this movie. Even the scenes that, like, as an actor, you'd be kind of like, this isn't written the best. Like, we're kind of being a little heavy-handed, going through this fast.
He's totally into it. Yeah, like
he's like, whatever. Like, this is what it is. Like, I really want to do this movie, and I'm happy to be here. And he sells it, and he does a great job.
Yeah,
got some laughs out of us. Got some solid laughs.
No, absolutely. And I think a lesser actor
would have fucked it up real bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could have gone south, but I think you really saved that character. Mm-hmm. To the point of making it quite good. Like, one of my favorite parts was a lot of the more towards the later Electro stuff, just when he kind of becomes badass and
he looked great.
Oh yeah.
Well, speaking of the great visuals, it looked great, and the sound design was actually really good in this movie. I noticed a lot of great sound effects. Which first off, you had to have in a comic book that has TWIP as a sound effect. Like,
yes.
Comic books already set the bar for sound design because, like that, Wolverine's claws. There are certain things that like comic fans have been hearing to themselves forever.
You have to sell that,
and that, along with all the electro noises and the sound design of this movie was pretty good.
That like to the point where at some point I couldn't tell if it was score or sound design.
Mm-hmm. Little column A, little column B.
Yeah, like when things start getting really intense with electro, and there's these just like voices talking, and I was like, is this just the song, or is this like part of the sound design of his voice, or both? And it made the scenes really intense, and I really enjoyed them.
As far as ancillary characters, there were some board members of Oscorp who were unremarkable. You were a shrewd businessman, like
BJ Novak and. To be Alistair Smythe for like 2 scenes.
He was good because
hopefully they use him later. I hope that's one of the ones that they're saving for later.
Yeah, I feel like it was like a Kirk Connors in the old one. Like, well, he's a character that we can develop later. Like, we don't know if we're ever going to get around to it, but if we need to. Yes. And BJ Novak's a great call for what they use him. Essentially, they use him to just like kind of put down Max's character, Jamie Foxx.
He does very well.
And he's super smarmy because he's BJ Novak. So it's like, hey, why don't you stay around and do all this work? I gotta go. Super busy though. Have a good one, bud.
Yeah, it's like VP Ryan.
It's Mr. Egypt. Don't worry about it. So he did a good job in that.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti is hammy in the best way.
Like only in here to be a trailer for what's coming next.
And
without spoiling too much, if you've seen the trailers for this movie, you've seen all of the Paul Giamatti part.
Yeah, it's pretty much bookends of the film, just sort of set up thing, and which it was great use. I was afraid they were going to try to tie in this whole other thing.
Oh, I know. Yeah, halfway through, I was like, man, how are they going to work Rhino into this? And then I realized, oh, they're not.
Which because they're pitching him just as this big over the top guy, which I love. But you can't, like, I couldn't have taken seriously as, like, another plot in this movie. It could have been like, oh, yes, what's his tragic backstory? Let's get on with that. No, it's just like, hey, I am Mobster, yeah, fuck all of you.
Yeah,
which is, like, pretty much him the whole movie. He's like, yes, fuck you, I'm driving truck. Like,
which is good that they're setting up this series, the Amazing Spider-Man series, to be a world that's different from the Marvel Cinematic Universe that has these sort of brooding, intense villains like this. Sometimes, like, there's just thugs that have too much power and they're big ridiculous villains, and Spider-Man, a kind of ridiculous spandex clad hero, needs to come save the day. Like, it is not the same as the other kind of superhero movies that are going on there, and I think this really sets that up.
Can you imagine how terrible it'd be if they did like a gritty Spider-Man that was like Kevlar plating or something, it was like a leather jacket that he wore.
I mean, give it time. Like, you think that's not going to happen sometime?
I mean, I'm sure it's happened in the comic books. Well, there's Spider-Man Noir who looks sweet as shit. I was just going to say, I
was like, Spider-Man Noir. Like, are you telling me you would not want to see a Spider-Man Noir
If it's a Spider-Man Noir, yeah, but like...
With Hammerhead.
Think what they did with Captain America's costume. Like, how it was designed. It looks sort of like Battle Armor with some embellishments, obviously. Yes. Like, they had to Spider-Man. It'd be a fucking nightmare. It'd be the worst thing ever. And I can't wait to complain about it in, like, 20 installments from now.
Yes.
But overall, so wrapping up non-spoilery thoughts on the film, it's not a perfect Spider-Man film, and I don't think anyone expected it to be. I got what I expected out of this movie, and I enjoyed it. I don't. It's not the movie. It's not Avengers. I'm not going to go see it 3 times in opening week.
Yeah.
But I was very happy that I went last night. I had a great time. I was entertained. I'm going to get it on Blu-ray and watch all the special features.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's going to be all sorts of deleted scenes and stuff. It is fun and entertainment, and I'm sorry if you're looking for more out of a comic book movie than that, but
well, thanks to Marvel, really.
Yeah.
Like they've kind of set the bar a bit high.
that's true. Yeah, because you know what, man? Think of like fucking Batman and Robin, and now we got this.
Yeah.
Like comic book movies can go real bad. They can go real bad real fast, and this isn't one of them. This one it has some structural issues, and you know I'd rather fault a filmmaker for wanting to do too much in their film than for not doing enough.
That's true. Yes, and and that's a big problem with Spider-Man 3 was there was too much, and not all of it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Like this.
This one, there's too much. Like they had the ability to execute it all well, but the fact that there's too much it ends up stepping on its own toes.
Yes, to where even the things that were done really well just can't live up to their full potential. I feel.
Alright, so now we can do. I think we'll cut here.
Yeah, we'll cut here. Spoiler.
Few spoiler sections.
Yeah, but not much longer. But the sort of spoilery things again. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Are we gonna do this from now on? Is this a new thing? We should come up with like a.
I mean, now that we're kind of caught up to films that are coming out.
Yeah, since we do them accurate, like since we've been watching
them.
And
I don't think necessarily every movie has big spoilery things. I didn't think that this one was going to until Gwen Stacy died.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, you didn't know Gwen Stacy was going to die, then you don't know Spider-Man.
I didn't know whether or not they were going to do it in the movie or not. Like, that was my big concern. I was like, it'd be cool if they did. That'd be awesome. But then I also know movie studios. And they'd be like, well, you can't kill Emma Stone.
Yeah.
She brings money to movie. Why kill Emma Stone? Like, no, we're not killing Emma. It's the character. She dies. No makes sense. Sony, man.
Leave on fire. Bring gift of fire. But yeah, Gwen Stacy dies. First off, prepare for nerd rage. I know it's going to happen, but Gwen hits her head on the ground instead of like having her neck snap from the momentum of the fall and the cord. Like it doesn't bother me at all. It's not a huge distinction to me. Like it's still going to win out Spider-Man, but I'm telling you, they're going to be nerds who go, oh, she's hit her head. She's supposed to just snap her neck from the fall and the web stopping her.
Whatever. Green Goblin attacked and she died. That's the point.
Yeah, and it was solid. Man, that laugh, Green Goblin's laugh when he shows up,
and that's pretty much the only time he does it, right? Maybe once or twice, but I only remember the one time. It's like right before he makes his entrance.
Yeah, it's pretty much how she's like you see him approach and you hear the laugh and like, damn, that's a good laugh. I wish we had more time with you. That was the first time I was like, man, he's really good. If we had more time with him, he probably would have kicked ass at both Harry and Goblin. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get more Goblin.
Yeah, because he's still around. He doesn't get killed or anything.
And they, apparently his disease will kind of come and go. So he's not going to be all crazy Goblin all the time, which is also good.
Also, we didn't talk about Norman Osborn.
No, we didn't.
In the other section, which they had Chris Cooper.
Yeah, Chris Cooper showing up just to say hey.
Nice villainy guy, which I didn't see a corpse, so I'm saying he's still around. He's been cloned. I know Spider-Man. There's clones and spider clones and other...
Or now he's fully the Green Goblin, like he's the Green Gobliniest Green Goblin.
Or he's like the ultimate one where he's like a giant hulking monster.
Yeah, and then they're like, ooh, we can't have you out and about. Oh no, it's so sad that he's dying. Like, so that's the thing, somewhere. Like he didn't die, but he succumbed to his disease. Like,
that's gonna be interesting.
That sort of thing you could totally do.
But Gwen Stacy dying, sorry to get us off track there. Gwen Stacy dying, yeah, it's heavy-handed, man. This movie is She starts with a graduation speech where she's like, we don't live forever. That might not be the word for word, but basically the first line of her speech is like, we're not going to live forever. Like, someday we're going to die, and that sucks, but we're all going to die. Someday.
Especially me.
We're going to die, especially me at the end of this movie. Like, multiple times she does this. And then they have this long thing where Peter's like, if something happened to you and you died, I don't know what I'd be able to do.
Then, like, they start making plans to leave New York, and I was like, oh, buddy.
Yeah. First time he takes Gwen Stacy to the top of the bridge, which I'm like, do you even read comics, Spider-Man? Fuck. God, bad idea.
Which, I like that they at least put that in there. Like, my guess is they knew that they weren't going to have the bridge sequence, like, for the end, and then they're like, well, we should probably...
Which is a clock tower, which is also a very good setting for cool climactic stuff. But you know
what? A power plant and a clock tower.
Speaking of that, bringing her to the top of the bridge is sort of a nod. It reminds me a lot of the first movie when his first night as Spider-Man, he falls through into that wrestling ring.
Yes.
Because they don't do the wrestling plot, like it doesn't work in this world, but it was just such a nice
They know
touch.
it's there, yeah.
It's like, oh man, yeah, that's right, he does wrestle.
They're like, yeah, we read comics, but we're doing a different thing.
We're doing our own thing.
So, but chill out.
Yeah, so bring her to the top of that bridge, I was like, buddy, stupid idea.
That they spent I thought Andrew Garfield did fantastic when she died.
Yes, that was
Like,
one moment where
holy motherfucking shit. It's like, oh yeah, this isn't just some dude, like some kid wanting to play Spider-Man because he looked best in the costume. Like,
yeah.
oh right, he's a legit actor who's legit and great.
Yeah, and that is not one of the moments where I was like, maybe cut some of this racial stuff. That was perfect. He was in pain, and
they lingered so long on it.
They gave you proper time to be like, deal with it.
Because like especially me, like knowing movies, I was like, fuck, she's gonna open her eyes, like, because he's like cradling her arms and like her head's kind of back, and he's like, wake up, and the music, and then the music starts to swell, and I'm like, don't you fucking do it. Don't you open your eye. You stay dead, Gwen Stacy. And then she did.
I knew she was going to die, but I was a little afraid that she was going to, like, get to say parting words.
Or something like that, but no. Yeah, like, and it's...
Because it is harshest and cruelest lesson for Peter Parker that is just robbed away. It's not it's not a big romantic moment. They don't get a chance to say their goodbyes or anything. It's just gone.
Yeah.
Bam.
And it is...
Which, how gorgeous was that sequence, though, when she's falling?
Oh, God.
She's falling. They're like cogs and stuff on the inside of the clock tower, which, once again, great setting.
Yes. Yeah, looked great. Yeah, and just so slow.
Like, they do a mix of slow-mo, and they occasionally cut fast, and they jump back to slow, and then they cut to fast. And yeah, so he shoots the web and just
that was a great moment. Whatever genius came up with the way that the
web reaches out,
and it looks like a fucking hand.
It looks like a hand going like no,
like,
but then it drifts away. It's not like super cartoony. But
yeah, it's not just, like it's not one of those sticky hands.
Yeah, it looks like it looks legitimately like the web could look. Based on
yes, like design. It would come out, and this one hasn't reached out yet because then it continues and it just looks like the.
Yeah, and it just it was a beautiful sequence, and just the way her face was lit, and they had like a tight focus on her face, and it was like a pale blue light around her, and the other stuff wasn't out of focus, but it was filmed in such a way in the color palette that it was almost like everything else was out of focus, and all you could see was her face as Peter watched her fall,
and it just this look of horror, like cause she oh well I'm falling now, like and there's nothing. And
filmically they gave it the weight it needs to have.
It was a great sequence.
Yeah, however you may feel about the characters, like they did everything they could in that sequence to make you feel everything you need to and give it the weight it needs to.
That, and I loved, and then after that he goes to the funeral, and then just gorgeous set of 4 shots of him
in different seasons, yes,
at different seasons at her tombstone, and just letting you know that like. One time passed that just sorry like that.
Yeah, they end up jumping ahead 5 months.
Yeah, and so like he is in full on in mourning like the. It was so good.
Yeah, that whole sequence was fantastic. They gave it the proper weight they needed to.
Yeah, because the end of the falling action of the movie after that was quite long, but at that point, I didn't mind the length.
Also, it was the right kind of hopeful. Like, you don't want a love conquers all, like, everything's going to be okay ending, but they did it the right way. So they gave you the moment, they let you weigh on the fact that Gwen had died, and that Peter wasn't able to move on. And then they could have ended it there. They could have left you off with like, well, Peter doesn't know what he's going to do next. It's the second part of a trilogy. Everything's down and sad.
Yeah.
But they're like, okay, we're going to show that he has to carry on. He has to be who he is. So he watches Gwen's speech and learns that everyone's going to die, which we all learned at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
And his Aunt May and another fucking beautiful scene.
Yeah.
Is like work. Yeah. Aunt May is working on getting over Uncle Ben and like packing up some of his stuff, and just gives the perfect. Hey kid, cheer up speech. And then he comes back as Spider-Man. They don't even show a fight. They start a fight. He starts a fight with the Rhino, who's now in a Rhino mech suit. And because you don't need it, they didn't need another sequence. That would have been too much.
Yes.
They just show you enough to be like, okay, you know what? It sucks, and
he's back.
It's always going to weigh on him, but he has a job to do, and he's going to do it. Goddamn
Which saved them a lot from starting the movie with
him being in depression.
Because that act like the beginning of Wolverine.
Yes.
Where it's just him still upset about Jean.
Yes.
while we're talking, there's one more bit that I want to talk about that I really liked. I thought it was a great bit of writing. Was how they dealt with the fact that Harry wasn't around.
Yes.
And then they were best friends. How they're like, well, Harry, he's been gone for 10 years. And I was like, it would have been so easy to like, just like, oh, we used to be friends and now we're hanging out and things are back to normal, even though it had been a really long time.
Yeah.
But then when Peter Parker, when he brought up, like, hey, you were there for me when my parents died,
Yeah.
and now I'm here for you. Like, he shows up and he hears about Norman Osborn dying.
Mm-hmm.
He shows that he just goes to Harry's place and it's like, hey, like when we were kids, you were there for me, and I'm returning the favor.
Yeah, they did.
That was such a, because like right away you're like, okay, well now we have to see them be best friends again. Like it was, you didn't have any of the awkward like, hey, I haven't seen you in so long. Now let's start to hang out more. Oh, I'm betrayed. Like, like it gave them a reason to catch up and to be to be characters in this movie that we're watching, and I thought that was really good.
Yeah, they did a good job of like using their condensed time with Harry very well. That was a great bit of writing, and also just in general, it was refreshing to have a character go like put some pieces together and go like, well, you take pictures of Spider-Man, you obviously know how to find him. Like,
yes,
I'm not an idiot. You're you're the first person to get pictures of Spider-Man. You're a douchebag in college.
I like how so long until he had to like explain it to Peter because like he's like, you can help me. He's like, fucking why? He's like, cause you.
Look, like you took these pictures.
He's like, so? He's like, fucking, you're an idiot. Like,
it's like, no, I had a good line. It's like, yeah, you had a good line. Fuck you. And then like he shows at the end of Gwen's there. He's like, oh, so you're Peter. Fuck
yeah,
me,
oh
right?
yeah.
It's like takes him 0 seconds to connect it.
Yeah.
Which thank God, because it's so annoying when it was like Lois Lane in Man of Steel, who's like, I'm gonna be a fucking reporter, research it and find him in like a one montage.
Or the girlfriend in Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Like, I recognize you. Like,
wait, I've known you since you were 7.
Like, if you hide your cheekbones, I'm...
Yeah, it's great when they do that, and it's not been done enough yet that's like the cool thing to do, so I'm still enjoying it.
So it still works.
It still works. I do want to briefly touch on, it's not really a spoiler thing, but in addition to the sequence of him standing at the grave, there are a couple great montages that told in a wealth of story, a dense amount of story, just with a few images and quick moments. There's a great sequence early on of like him just fighting a bunch of shit. So essentially, it's just like...
And then we just see like him at his closet, returning his costume.
Yeah, so it's just a sequence like 6-7 times in a row of him like in his room, like getting undressed, and like he's covered in like goop, and one time it's feathers, and it's just delightful. It tells you everything you need to know. It saves on effects budget, and it was funny and refreshing. And yeah, there's a couple sequences like that. You know, him testing the battery was not as strong, but it was...
This is a delightful little moment, yeah.
It was funny and delightful, but I feel like they did another one with him in costumes.
The best part about the battery one was the fire extinguisher.
Yes.
Into that. Just the long...
It's very Iron Man.
Yes.
It's very Iron Man, like, all right, we're going to run a series of scientific tests, show you a few funny clips from it, and then end with a good punchline.
Which is good. Like, you know, if you're going to have the Peter Parker being smart section, maybe take some pages out of Iron Man books.
But, hey, I just want to touch on that, so... You know,
that's pretty much what I was. I recommend this movie. Like I think we both do.
Yeah. You know, hardcore webheads are never going to be happy. Like, I'm sorry, but you probably also don't like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And
yeah, it's like we still haven't gotten the definitive Spider-Man movie, but
you can go get fucked. So wait for Avengers 4 Civil War when they get the rights back, and it just opens with a press conference where Spider-Man takes off his mask,
and it's Donald Glover,
and that's how they tell his backstory. It's like, hey, I'm Spider-Man. I've been Spider-Man since I was 16. I got bit by a radioactive spider, and that's how they do it. Just fucking move on. We got Spider-Man now. That's right. And Tony Stark's like, that's right. We got Spider-Man. Just so meta. It's just fucking 21 Jump Street all up in that bitch. So we'll be back very soon.
We get to watch Marvel.
We
get to watch 21 or 22 Jump Street. Right?
But Marvel Madness, we're going to be back very soon.
Yeah, this month.
3 weeks from now, we will be reviewing Days of Future Past. We saw a little snippet of.
Yeah, we did.
Post credits, which was a bad scene. I'm hoping for their sake that it was an edited version of the scene as it appears in the movie.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it seemed very jumpy and random at times. And I was like, the fuck is going on?
Like mutants, right? We got Toad in this bitch.
So, like, all right, we got Jennifer Lawrence sequence. Like, that can't be your best Jennifer Lawrence sequence. If so, people are going to riot. People are going to flip a shit. Like, it shouldn't be about her, but clearly they put a scene with her because she's America's sweetheart or something.
I've seen better scenes of her in the trailer.
Yeah, right? Like the one with Wolverine calling her a cold-hearted bitch. Why'd you put that in? That would have... Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to see it anyway, so...
It's true.
So
It's true. They have nothing to prove to you.
So see Spider-Man. Marvel, though, we're going to double down our efforts. I'm going to say it on film so we can't take it back. And you totally couldn't have cut the credits by now, so it's definitely going to be on here. The Disney Marathon. We're doing a Disney Marathon.
Why would you?
Because this December, or November, one of those months, is coming out a Disney Animated Studios film based on a Marvel property, Big Hero 6. And it's going to be the culmination of 2 marathons, and we're going to fucking do it. It's going to be a little different, and we're going to tell you about it in our first installment of that, but hold us to that. If you see us in the streets, just throw things at us until we do Disney videos.
Do that.
We'll throw things at him, and compliment me on
I don't think this is a good idea. I'm cutting this off.
It's going to take some kind of handsome genius to get away with this.
That's not going to be your new catchphrase.
It's one of my many catchphrases.
God damn it.
I have so many. I got pockets full of them.
I got my pocket full of catchphrases.
My pocket full of catchphrases. That's gonna be our Spider-Man video. So in summation, this is Spider-Man pretty good.